Welcome to the New Earth Co-Creators podcast with host Sarah Chave.
Hi everyone. Today I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Kathy Mingo. Kathy's work covers everything from energy healing, channeling, ancient sites, multidimensional awareness, and the energies that are influencing our planet at the current time. So this proves to be a fascinating conversation, and we're also going to invite Kathy to channel a message as well. So you'll definitely want to listen into that. Welcome, Kathy. Delighted to have you on. And we've had a little bit of adventure before we even start today, haven't we?
Absolutely. So apologies my end for chaos. Seems a bit chaos, but that's, I think, par for the course at the moment, isn't it, of what's going on?
It's part of the energies. And I feel, you know, like we thought we were doing it tomorrow, and then we've had technical issues, and a lot of people are really feeling like they've been through a washing machine at the moment. The energies are fast moving and discombobulating, and that's kind of what we've just experienced. It's almost like, okay, if you're going to speak about this, be in it.
Absolutely. And
so
I must
would you like
apologise.
to speak into the current energies? What you believe is happening at our current time?
Let me just introduce you to my beautiful Siamese cat, Bodhi, who I'm going to try and put on the floor. There we go. It's interesting for me at the moment. I feel like we're in a paradoxical sense. So we've got all of this really fundamentally high plasmic light coming in, and kind of juxtaposed to that a little bit, we've got this really dense, angry, severing type of energy as well. I kind of feel like we're like a DNA loop. We've got the high frequency, but we're also battling with this sort of like what I call the malignant energy, the kind of the darker and the stuff that needs, I suppose, exploring in a way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, that darker energy, would you say that's linked to the collapsing of the old timelines and our kind of the looping, you know, that we've been practicing for many, many years, and the kind of the plasmic lights kind of inviting us to spiral out of that in a way?
Yeah, I think in a way, yeah, we've been asking for this, for change, for a long, long time. Well, I have sort of personally, and now it's here. I kind of think I've got to stop moaning about it and embrace it, because it is part of, I suppose, this metamorphic evolution that I think we're going through as a planet, but as a star system as well.
What do you experience as plasma, you know, plasma light?
So in a channeling sense, so when I'm channeling, I feel the plasmic light for me has a bit more of a viscous feeling to it. It feels more fluid. I feel like there's multiple possibilities within the information that's coming in, you know, and that's not kind of carte blanche to say, you know, we've got no accuracy. I don't mean that, but I mean that it feels multifunctional, but it really, if you could imagine, I know it's a terrible analogy I'm about to give you, but it's got a kind of resonance of Bonjela. Do you remember the stuff that you used to put on your gums? It has that kind of solidity to it, but it's incredibly fluid.
It's interesting you should say that, because kind of like, you know, like that gel, like, you know, like aloe vera gel or something like that.
Yeah.
In a way, that it has the ability to go in much deeper than something like water, you know, which kind of, it's almost like repellent to our skin, you know, surface. But something like aloe vera gel, yeah, it's very, very deeply absorbent. Do you feel like the plasmic light has a similar kind of quality? It's like really helping us to absorb the light that's coming in.
Absolutely. It's an interesting analogy you've given, because I haven't actually thought about it in that way before. So yeah, absorbent, but I think it's also questioning us. I feel like, you know, we've had, personally for me, and this is obviously only my opinion, but the last 20 years spiritually, everything's been quite linear, and now we're being asked to kind of view light, time, truth, expression in a more spherical way, so in a multi-dimensional way. So I do feel it's an upgraded light, personally.
What do you mean by that? Like a more spherical, multi-dimensional way in terms of how we're viewing consciousness? How does that look for you?
So for me, it looks, we've got timelines, and everyone kind of views time, don't they, on a line. That, we go from A to B in a straight line. But in a way, we can go to A to B in a spherical sense. If we talk about quantum light, for instance, or, wormholes, we could take a point in space A and B where we view that we would have to travel long distances to reach those points. Within a kind of wormhole, you can take the point A and B and you can join them together. And that it makes it that sort of spherical sense. I think things will be a lot quicker, a lot more fast moving. And I kind of feel like, for me as a channel as well, I'm going to have to up my game a bit with the information that's coming in.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense in terms of that movement, that shift into unity consciousness, because a lot of people talk about that, but what does it actually mean? It means that we're all connected. And, if we move into spherical time, in a way, time doesn't really exist in the way that we've known it to. So it's kind of a step in that direction, in a way.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're being asked to really understand concepts beyond our conscious understanding now. So, and I feel like words, we're going to have to change how we speak, because it is an understanding that comes from such a high plasmic source. And then, it goes through all this filtration system to come down to, like, if I just say for me personally, a channel, and that would be my interpretation of it. So I have to interpret it the best way that I can with the kind of knowledge that I have.
I love what you're saying. And I had the wonderful Pam Gregory on my podcast last year, and she was suggesting that she might have to totally relook and rethink how she is as an astrologer, and the whole game, as it were, might change. So in a way, that's what you're saying is kind of pointing to that as well. And I know my own guidance has been very much that, deprogramming, bringing in the light. And, we have no idea of what's possible and who we may become, really. And that's very much the co-creation process. So being open to that and really surrendering to all that old, sneaky pieces of the old conditioning and programming, which we kind of may not even be able to see because they've been there for, eons or whatever. That's the piece of work, really, to kind of, look at that. Is that something you work with, Kathy, the undoing? Is it more the bringing in of the light?
I think a little bit of both. But I focus on, well, I don't focus on it, it's just given in this kind of, it's a kind of high vibrational understanding. And I often feel like, I always say to them upstairs, talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old, because I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. And in a way, they say, it's not really, I don't have to understand it per se. It's a delivery of this message. And I do believe, that I've often thought about astrology in that it's not linear. There's the 13th sign Ophiuchus, who's been kind of taken out of the equation in the past. Is that all coming back? I think as a channel, if I'm not open and receptive that things are outdated, and I think things get outdated within weeks now at this point.
Yeah.
I have to be open to this evolutionary process, because if I'm not, then it just becomes stagnant.
That's so interesting. And I had Maria Wheatley, and I'll speak to this because I know you do a lot of work with energy lines and sacred sites and crop circles and that kind of thing. And she's done a lot of research on the long-headed skulls, as it called, the long-headed people, the long-skulled people. And she looked them up, and they were all like tattooed, and they used to kind of like put their ears, great big things in their ears. And she feels that the young people that are coming in now are actually resonating and connected, if not them, so then time is really looping, is that from the past us now? And how does it all interact if time doesn't exist? Is our where do we exist in space? It becomes really, really fascinating, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. And even to try and understand it, Einstein called quantum entanglement spooky action at a distance. And even he didn't understand it. So I don't feel bad when I know that Einstein struggled with time concepts. And I feel like at the moment, time feels like it's speeding up.
Yeah.
And, as testament today, I got my day wrong. It wasn't Sarah, it was me, got to be honest. But it's, and then technology isn't sort of working the way it used to. So it's very interesting that I kind of feel like two worlds are converging as we speak. Two universal vectors of consciousness are kind of blending into one.
It's fascinating stuff as well. And what came to me whilst you were speaking is it feels like there's never a more important time to call in our highest guidance, our highest timeline, because perhaps what we're kind of aiming for in ourselves in undoing and bringing in the light, we've already done it. It's kind of, I know there's the sense that we're already healed, we're already one, and all the rest of it. But if we're looking at it in terms of that time, our future self may already have worked all this stuff out, and we'd simply have to call it into us. Yeah.
Yeah. And absorb it, as you say. This is, it's this, the fundamentals of all of this, I feel, is everything just slightly out of reach. But it's not out of reach because it's within. And it's that, I suppose, that kind of dimensional gap that we're now, I think, having to face.
Yeah.
The world to me seems like we're in this duality, aren't we, of high vibrational understanding. But juxtaposed to that, there is this hugely dense separating light that wants to not keep us from our unity, but to a degree doesn't allow us to go into our limitless potential.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. And in a way, this plasmic light that's coming in is really aiding us to remember and to bring in all these tools and gifts and, like as channelers or, whatever it is for our individual purpose at this time. And it's going to become more and more increasingly difficult for the dark forces to be able to keep it together, as it were.
I don't think they've ever really kept it together. They just tell us that they have, and I think that's
we're believing it less. We're believing it less.
Yeah. We are indeed, and I think that's partly to do. And when we say plasmic light, it's got an intelligence, and obviously I always stipulate this. It's just my perception of it. Someone else's might be different, but I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's always been. They've always said to me, even 25 years ago in channeling, time is of the essence. They've always said it. And and I kind of thought, oh God, end of the world type of thing. But I feel now that they're just saying time literally is essence. It isn't of the essence. Time is essence. And I think the more we understand the higher dimensional light, that the cosmic spark, as it's called, I think the more we understand that, the more our evolution changes. And they've also said to me, as we evolve, they evolve. So there's this, we're not separated from the higher dimensions, we are them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of us sort of starseeds can resonate with certain places that we kind of perhaps our origin or at least spent many lifetimes in. And that's coming online more and more as well, the kind of galactic aspects.
Yep, absolutely.
I'd love to speak, because we're going to invite you to channel, and I really want to leave kind of a big chunk of time to do that, because I feel, particularly with what we had happening before, there's a lot of kind of excitement and discombobulation happening. So before you do that, I'd really like people to understand, for those people that do not know your work, what you're channeling, what you're bringing through, how you're doing it, particularly if you have any sense of who you might be channeling today, just so that people can understand it really a little bit more.
So I started out, I'm actually known as a medium, and that's great, and that has its place. But over the years, I've kind of gone more into the channeling. It's interesting. I'm not sure I use the word channeling as in remote viewing, maybe. It's difficult. I know this, we're going into ground that isn't ground we should go into, but I do feel like who I talk to, and I never, ever worry about who I'm channeling, because my intent and I have no fear over this. And I kind of feel if we attach fear, then the dark can come in. Does that make sense? I don't have any fear. I don't distrust what comes in. I mean, I'm discerning, and if I felt something was wrong, then I wouldn't do it.
Sure.
But for me, I just think the higher you can kind of access this light, the more quantum actually this information comes. So a lot of my channeling, I would say, is quite different. And I think it's a bit more on what I would call the quantum spectrum. And I've been naturally, I've always done it. Apparently as a child, I was deemed as odd, because I would say.
Would you say you're channeling kind of energetic information rather than, some people are, for example, channeling individuals who they name, or the Palladians or whatever. Now I do understand you do, like you mentioned, the Andromedans, so you do kind of channel different groups as well, but would you say it's more energetic?
Yes, I think it's more of a kind of blueprint information. I have been told there's no original thought in the universe. I go along with that thought. So I just think there's information out there, and whether an Andromedan or a Milkomedan, who I want to talk about, comes in, or Merlin, because, I've had information from Mary Magdalene, Merlin, Jesus, but not in the capacity religiously. It's almost like the Akashic records or the dimensional information, and going and picking and being given pieces of that book. That's kind of how I see it. Yeah.
Fabulous. And I agree with you. And I also believe that nothing's hidden, that so that we all have the potential to receive these information and whatever, so we can access all of this. So, in a way, that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And absolutely, we all have the capability to do this. I think spiritually in the past, we've had, well, I'm a guru and you're not. And we've had this kind of where people have felt not good enough and that they don't matter. And I've always been a little bit, it's not been my favorite type of spiritualism, because I have it, I'm not special, I just listen. And I think to have no fear as well is really important.
This podcast, Kathy, because it's more of a conversation. Sometimes I come on and I spend a lot of time listening, and sometimes I love to do that. Yeah. And actually, this to me, it's about a co-creative space where none of us feel like we're above, or we all have all the answers or anything like that, where we're really working together to navigate and support each other. That's why I set this up with that intention. And sitting here with you, I can really feel that, like, I love it when we have these kind of open dialogues where we're kind of working with emergent energies, and there's a sense of it being in the moment. It's not like, I'm sort of sitting with someone that's got a script that they've kind of said many times. This is what lights me up, this kind of conversation. So
and me too.
Yeah, no, it's so important. And everyone at home as well, if this is resonating with you, we'd love to hear your ideas, because you're a part of this energy field as well. And that's something I'm really trying to encourage in these conversations, is that we can allow that space, that container, for something to emerge. So is there anything else you'd like to share before channeling today, Kathy?
So just quickly about the plasmic light, because I think some of you will be going, what is plasmic light? In the physical sense, and I won't go on about, I'm a big croppie, so if I go into the crop circle tangent, I'll be here for about 20 hours, so I will keep it brief. I was in a place called Avebury Truslow, which is behind Avebury, and there's two stones called the Adam and Eve stones, or the long stones, that a lot of people don't visit, but they're beautiful. And we were sitting at night, me and my partner, and in front of us was all of a sudden this diamond shape of glowing, luminous plasmic light. Wow. And it was probably, I'm not good with about 10 to 20 feet in front of us, appeared out of nowhere, dropped down, didn't get absorbed into the earth as we could see, and it was gone. And I thought, from that point on, a lot of the channelings did seem to have a little bit more of a quantum flavor. So I don't know if there's a connection there. I've never, it wasn't a UFO. It was definitely a UAP, because I didn't know what it was, but it felt like there was a communication occurring. So I've seen it in the
intelligent light as well. It's intelligent. Yeah. It's bringing information in.
Yes. Yeah. And I think because there's ley lines there as well, and there's so many ley lines, even ones we don't know about. And I think they talk to each other. And we've got this whole kind of crystalline grid around the earth that is in plasmic communication. Each site talks to the other, is what I believe. And I kind of think how I channel is I maybe tap into that a bit, into the light code knowledge.
Amazing. Well, I'm really excited to see what comes through today, Kathy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So instantly the energy coming in is the Milkomedans, and they're saying they are in a vector that is in a dimensional collision. They want us to understand collision doesn't mean anything other than merging. They don't really have names per se, but they have a light plasmic information that's coming through. They welcome us to their knowledge, and they welcome us to absorb their knowledge, to allow this imparting of divine consciousness, cosmic spark light. They are here as overseers, as light watchers, as shining light in the forest of what is they're calling disinformation. It's interesting. And they're saying our disinformation, our disclosure point, is very murky at the moment, and they want a little bit to be removed from three-dimensional disclosure like UFOs, UAPs, and they want us to know that the merging of Andromeda and our Milky Way is resonantly being felt right now. They're saying we have echo waves. There's a wave format of information coming in that is going to be decoded by every single person on this planet, whether they're aware of the coding or not. It's going to be absorbed through sunlight, but also through moonlight. And they're saying the spectral visual light that you see now on the three-dimensional is going to expand. The way we see things visually, emotionally, spiritually, is really going to expand going forward. And they're saying they're here for us as they have always been. The time essence of this has a linear time in science, but it has no time within the spiritual and dimensional consciousness. We are merging as one. We have always merged as one. They're saying your vector, your universe that we're in, our little neighborhood, was born out of a much older universe. That universe was born out of a much older universe. And thus it goes on and on and on. They're saying the cyclical nature of time, of learnings, of wisdom, of light, of neutrality, and overall compassion. So they wish to bring in messages of compassion, of hope, of joy, of resonance, and a reminder that on the three-dimensional level, you know, me, Kathy, I'm just here in the physical for a very, very short amount of time in my consciousness line, and to become aware that the expansiveness of who we are, our soul energy, our soul love, our soul light, merges through many, many lifetimes, but there's always a resonant echo of each lifetime that is left within our consciousness as we are now in the physical. They're saying they're using me as an example, have many, many lifetimes of information, seedings, dimensional wisdom that has been imparted into me in my cellular frequency. They're calling it the emotional DNA. The dimensional DNA. And we take that emotional DNA forward into every lifetime. And though my physical body, when I pass, will disintegrate, the consciousness that I have learnt, imparted, and actually been party to will go on for millennia, infinity. And they're showing the figure of 8 symbol from Andromedan vector and Milky Way, our Milky Way. And that figure of 8 is actually starting to merge. The corners of each vector are now in communication with each other. And it's a fast moving dimensional consciousness conversation that will be taking place. And they're saying 10,000 years down the line on the linear, 20,000 years, everything will look different. Our sky will look different. The astrology will be different. Our sort of view of consciousness will be different. It's in this consistent, elaborate, dimensional movement going forward. They're saying your universe is expanding, their universe is expanding, and that expansion is creating this kind of like two tides that are rubbing up against each other. They're saying we just have to go through what they're calling this Rubicon point. We are at the Rubicon point, the event horizon between the emergent new energies. They're saying we're not new, we're old, but you would see us as new. Their emergent older consciousness and ours. And this merging will bring in a completely different luminal understanding of what our place in the divine universe is, not just your neighborhood universe. They're saying that separation has caused so much division within our universe. They're not even just talking about on a three-dimensional spectrum. They're talking on a multi-dimensional spectrum. And they're saying, you know, you talk about we are one down here on the 3D, and they're saying, but you really are. You are a part of us. Your star seeding, be it Andromedan, Sirian, Pleiades, you've an essence of all of that starlight, all of that information. All of it goes straight through into this emotional DNA point. They're showing new vortexual chakra points above the head, miles and miles above the head, that will start to interlace and interlink with this new dimensional interface information. They want us to understand that love sits at the seat of all of this. And they're also bringing which is really interesting because we're talking about superluminal light here, but they're also talking about our ancient ancestors, our druids, our pagans, the Egyptians, the Muans, the Atlanteans. All of that information is also coming into what they're calling the cosmos emergence. They're saying in the next 18 months specifically, this cosmos emergence will start to be felt, I think, on the physical, definitely on the emotional, and most certainly on our spiritual consciousness. It's a collective consciousness now. We'll work more for collective than we will in singularity, spiritually speaking. And they're saying, they do want to talk a little bit about the state of our world. They do it with rolled eyes, I must say. But they're saying the Earth is going through a metamorphic shedding of an older skin. And they're saying this sort of older skin shedding has happened time immemorial. It's happened in the past. It will happen again. It's on the sphere. It's a spherical shedding. And it's just about going from 3-dimensional 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th up to 27th, 28th, 29th dimensions. They're not really expecting us to understand anything 28th dimensional at this point, but they're saying the next 18 months will bring a complete and utter de-skinning of the old program and the old timeline and the emergence of the cosmological emergence timeline. And they want us just to understand that you're never alone. They're saying as part of being in the learned program on Earth, we have a kind of essence towards homesickness, an essence towards wanting to go home. And I understand that because I feel that. And even people not on the spiritual level have this kind of, they're saying it's a sense of kind of detachment from the oneness. And it helps with, I suppose, the programming and learning down here. But ultimately, we need to feel this kind of cosmic emergence. We need to feel it in the heart, in the soul, spiritually. It will take out a lot of feelings of fear, insecurity, and loneliness. And they puzzle at our loneliness on the earth plane. They're saying so many people exist on your planet, yet you're the most lonely planet of them all. Okay. Now, as they come in, the Milkomedans, the Andromedans, and that we are kind of interceded, they want us to understand that we are an interceded energy, a cosmological interceding. And they're saying, each person perhaps has a certain provocation towards a starseed like Pleiadian or Andromedan or Draco, but ultimately we're the essence of all of it because we are universal beings of cosmological spark. And we've lost our connection to the divine source. And with this cosmic emergence and this merging, the Rubicon point, which they're saying is about 18 months they're saying if you want a linear time framework, 18 months, we're going to feel a lot of sort of this kind of buffering. They're saying, imagine it like in the old days when you used to hook up to AOL online, you would get a lot of buffering. That's what we're experiencing now. The upgraded plasmic luminal energies are a little bit more advanced than we're used to. So it's just about our 3-dimensional cosmological energy, because they're saying we do have an expression of the cosmos inside us all, and that is starting to awake. There is an awakening of divine consciousness. There is a wake of our inner consciousness. Now they want to bring in our ancestors. Wow. Okay. So I have a beautiful divine feminine energy. She is linked specifically to the UK. Her name is Coventina. She's all dressed in green. If you can imagine someone that's got a kind of green shawl of light that's made from trees and leaves, she's completely green. And she's saying she is here because the earth is in turmoil, but the UK is the heart chakra of the world. And everything is going to come out through the heart. Everything that needs to expand into its awareness will come from the heart chakra, which is the UK, interestingly. We are the most surveilled country, perhaps on the planet, other than China. But they're saying, but that's because the heart is trying to be suppressed. And with the heart opening, Coventina wants to say to everyone listening that she loves us, that we are here to walk the path of truth, walk the path of cosmological light. But with that cosmological light, we need to look down at our feet. We need to look down at what is under our feet, the earth, the trees, all of that sacred landscape that we all live in. And she's saying, you know, even in parts of London where everything's concreted over, the ancient ley lines still exist. They still give out a resonant consciousness of information. And she's saying for people to feel her, to feel this resonance, it really is as simple as sitting in nature, but really allowing the mind to step back so that the information can come in. She's saying she was one of what we would call the ancient white witches. So for all of those that love the witches, she is a white witch. She's saying they don't like the word witch because there's connotations towards evil and darkness. She's saying, but in the totality of it, she was a healer, as we all are. She's saying, you are a healer. Everyone listening, you heal by your voice, by your actions, by your energy. And the more that we can bring into neutrality, which is an absence of a perception or a viewpoint, the better things will become. So she's bringing in a very, very green light. It's a healing green. She's saying it goes into the 4 chakras of the heart. So we've got the heart chakra, and within each chamber of the heart is a subsidiary chakra point. And she's saying these are the points of Awen. Okay, this is new information for me. And so she's requesting I do a meditation. I'll do that another time. But within that meditation, we will open these points of Awen in the heart to allow the plasmic luminal merging, co-merging, to help us all to steady within these buffering frequencies that are coming in. And we're back to the Milkomedans. So they're on, the Milkomedans are information energies between our Milky Way and Andromeda in this new emergent frequency. They want to help us understand that the next 18 months, we're going to need to use a lot of crystalline energies to help us ground a bit. So they're talking about shungite, they're talking about topaz. They're also talking about high vibrational crystals like Lemurian seed, just to help with the grounding at the feet and the Lemurian seed to the head. And they're saying we mustn't be afraid of what is going on in this Rubicon point. It's about embracing it. Coventina is saying, open your arms out and embrace all that is coming. Everything is transitional. Everything is temporary. And when we move through this temporary status, we'll go into the emergent timelines, which will go for thousands and thousands of years down the line. Coventina is saying all of the planets are also in communication, but the planets that we don't know about, there are thousands of luminal bodies, planet bodies, that are in communication beyond our solar system and into the Andromedan system. And they're talking about Theaton. And I've got an energy coming in from Theaton. Okay, this is like a priestess. And they're saying they use the word priest and priestess because it's our knowledge of what that word means. But really they are alchemists. And she's saying Theaton exists in our Earth because their planet slammed into ours billions of years ago. So we have energies and essence left of Theaton, and she is priestess Theaton. And she's saying to us, the Theaton energies are also linked to this Milkomeda. So everything in our future has been recorded in our past. It's called past proves future, future proves past. And she's saying the allowance of taking the mind out of the equation, allowing these DNA downloads to come in, is an acceptance of it. She's saying you can consciously put an algorithm into this, but you'll never understand it fully. The understanding of it comes through connection to yourself in faith and connection to yourself in love. So with Theaton, priestess Theaton, she's saying a lot of the ley lines hold this old theatonic information. So the ley lines have information. She's saying everything is encoded. It's encoded in stone. It's encoded in light. It's encoded in water, in wells. It's encoded in your own cellular DNA. And they want us to look forward to our future. And as much as they feel like this might sound like a bit like a cop-out, in a way, they're saying, just in the next sort of couple of years, look after yourselves, look after those around you in your little world. Those small advocacies to looking after others in a community sense will ripple out into the divine universe and will be sort of encoded for millennia to come. This July, August, September, October is very, very important for this new encoding. And interestingly, as they all emerge together, they just show me that they are a sphere, an orb of plasmic luminal light. But as I look into that orb, I see myself. Thank you.
Wow, Kathy, that was amazing. There's just like so much that came through there.
It's very quick, and I was trying to sort of, oh dear. So Coventina, I haven't seen for a long, long time, so that's interesting.
Do you want to explain anything to anyone, you know, in terms of the information that came through? There are some things that people might not really understand, but you might.
Okay, so I don't sort my hair out. Well, number one, for everyone, thank you for listening, firstly, because as they're saying, I kind of want to sort of, the feeling I got from that is, as we were talking about, I am you, you are me. You know, this channeling isn't just from me, it's from everyone, because without other people, this can't exist. We cannot exist in the singular format. And I love the feeling that, look, we're going to get a bit buffered going forward, but they kind of want us to understand that it's just a transition. It's this Rubicon point that they're talking about, that we kind of have to go for this metamorphic shedding of skin so that we can then emerge. And that's kind of how I feel it. I've got a really good friend called Kwali, and she uses snakes to take out fear of people. She's got hundreds of snakes. And she's saying sometimes a snake will have a clean shed where the skin comes off in one. And other times when things are a little bit unhealthier, it's called a messy shed. And I kind of feel like we're going through a bit of a messy shed. However,
we didn't quite do the job in the year of the snake.
Not really. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the year of the snake.
We're needing the fire horse to kind of fully
burn it off, alchemize it. So, yeah, I just got the feeling of unity, and that the ancient energies are equally as important as the newer energies, because they are the same thing. And that, you know, I don't usually one for, you know, saying, oh, you've got to ground yourself. But I kind of felt that this solstice, if you've got any chance to go to a Neolithic or anywhere, go to a tree, it's about the communion with nature, but communing with nature more than I think we've ever done.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kathy. I feel like I'm going to have you back on, because there was just so much. I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been wonderful, and it feels like really alive, like we can have some more conversations for sure. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone listening in at home as well. And please do let us know your feedback, about what was brought through, because that was hot off the press information coming through there.
Yeah, some of it I have no idea about because it was new to me. So I'm literally a funnel. That's all it is. There's nothing special about this for me. I just listen.
Amazing.
Thank you, Sarah, so much.
Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.